Good morning. Happy Tuesday, July 13th, 2021. Time is just flying by. If you're just tuning in, I'm Caryn Lutz, and you could find me at CarynLutz.com, CarynLutz. Today's topic is how I planned our wedding from over 2,000 miles away. And some tips for you all since it's wedding season, and if you're planning to get married next year or in the next several months, I have some helpful tips that you may need. So let me just start by saying that, and as I mentioned, I'm going to talk about Joe and my story in another episode. But today's episode, we're going to focus in on the wedding planning. So this was one of my most favorite things to do. I had such a fun time planning our wedding. It was such an incredible event. So what happened was, and I had spoken about this before, but my prophecy. When I lived in Maryland, God spoke to me and said 617. And I said, okay. And this was way before I even met Joe. So this is cool, and how I'm going to connect this all. So Joe and I got engaged in October of 2016. But before that, I knew that following year, 6/17/17 was on a Saturday, and I just got the date first. And I knew we were getting engaged. You know, Joe had bought the ring already, and I wanted to set the date. So I'm going to be quite honest with you all. I set the date, and I called the venue because I knew that we were going to have the reception at Split Rock. And thank God it was available. But I knew, because it was our destiny, that would happen. So what happened was, and I'm going to suggest to you all, set your date first, okay? And really find out if you want to have your, a church traditional ceremony, if you're going to do a destination wedding, or if you're just going to do, a ceremony on the beach. So if any wedding planners are tuning in, hi, and chime in if you are interested in sharing your expertise as well. So I have a lot of friends who are planners in the event world, and I work with a lot of them as well. So if you are just tuning in, we are talking about wedding planning because it's beautiful wedding season. And I talk about this because I know a lot of people, unfortunately, it's been insane with COVID and what happened last year, and some people planned again and had to cancel. It's just crazy. So let's be positive. Let's get back on track. If you are engaged, I'm here to help if you have any questions on that. So I ended up planning from 2,000 miles away. So I secured the venue, and I'm a traditionalist, I guess you could say. I'm a Capricorn. And I knew that I was going to get married at our church. We were the fourth generation to get married at the Roman Catholic Church in our hometown of Hazleton, Pennsylvania. And hi, if you're just tuning in. Hi, I see you. It's great to see you. I hope you're doing well. So the date first, and then your budget. And then I wrote some notes here in the sand so that I didn't forget because, as I mentioned, my ADHD, and I'm trying to get focused. So your dates, your budget, your venue, and your list of people. And that was such a tough one, too. I already knew the bridesmaids, and, Joe already knew the groomsmen that we wanted. But the guest list was stressful, very, very stressful, because I think I started out probably with 500 people, and those of you tuning in could understand. I know a lot of people, and I'm so blessed to have a lot of friends. So that's where I started. Also the food and the music. And what I want to interject with is, if you are planning, one of the things that is forgotten about is your ceremony music. Everybody always does plans the bigger items first, and then they forget about the ceremony music. And I say that because I was one of them involved. I remember one summer, legit, I had 12 weddings in a row. It was amazing. I think it was around 2011 or 2012. So I had to, plan out my schedule as well. And this is so important because if you are booking performing artists, we need to know our schedules like a year in advance. So just word of caution to you all. Hi, if you're just tuning in. And thank you for joining me. I appreciate this. I'm sitting at the beautiful beach and planning, my day out. And I figured, speaking about planning, wedding season, this is the time to speak about the weddings. So Joe and I were living in Las Vegas at the time, and we were planning literally across the country in Pennsylvania because that's where most of our guests were from. So it's a very important when you're planning the reception to keep the guest in mind. Now, personally, when it comes to food choices and that, you want to have a gluten-free menu as an option too. Back then, I wasn't participating in that lifestyle. Had I known now, I would have had different choices for the guests. So that's one of the things that I need to keep in mind too for the dietary restrictions for people, and also dairy. So going back to the performing artist, you want to book your ceremony musicians. So find out if you are getting married at a church, if you want to secure your musicians, or if they have a designated organist that plays with the church or the music director there. You want to contact these people way in advance and just secure these things. It's really all about the planning and the scheduling and being organized and being on budget and just keeping that flow. I am so grateful that things happened the way they did because it was short. Like I said, we got engaged in October, but I already knew that the venue was already secured before that. So I want to say it was secured about a year before. So you figure I only had a couple months, really officially, from October to that June. And you just weekly, do check-ins. And one of the things that I found beneficial, and I saved a lot of money by this, I am traditional. However, technology was starting to take over by that point, and things started to, really come to fruition with the invites and everything through. I used a company called Minted, and I remember sending out like the save the dates and using email addresses. I'm like, it's a brilliant way to save paper, to save trees, to save money, and you just follow up. And I'll tell you why I'm so happy I did that, besides, saving money on the invites, was it kept the people engaged. You follow up. Did you receive the save the date? Did you receive the invite? Are you coming? And this keeps you engaged with your guests. So it builds up that, excitement for the big day. And I'm so blessed that it worked out the way it did, because I had beautiful musicians, beautiful vocalists for the church ceremony. I actually sang the Ave Maria, which was so special. And we'll talk about that whole thing in another episode, but with my connection with the Blessed Mother. So I was very excited. And actually the song that I walked down to in the aisle, I recorded. So that was very neat to have that played as I was walking down to Joe, because it was so special. And the DJs. So the DJs and I connected years ago. They used to run karaoke at the casino, and they're fantastic. In fact, she was one of them that said, "You have an effervescent personality. You belong in Las Vegas." And I guess you know the story there. So I was planning the wedding from Vegas. So I'll backtrack and get back on track and talk about the rest of the planning. So one of the things that I would suggest, if you are doing buffet style, make sure you have enough stations up. We were supposed to have 4. So I got really detailed in my planning, and I drew out maps. I had the floor plan, and I'll tell you, like, we had a theme for our wedding, and I'm so glad I did that because it just made so much sense. I mean, we did Vegas meets Broadway. I mean, that's us, very Joe and I. And every table had a Broadway playbill as its theme, and I used the people there and I connected them to the table. So for instance, we had Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So our best man, and if he's watching, hi, and I'm praying for you, Dario, he worked at Hershey chocolate. So we put him at the Hershey, the chocolate factory. It just made a lot of sense. So I say this because if you are connecting with your guests, because don't forget, the reception is really all about the guests. I know, you're the couple is getting married, but keep your guest in mind. It's so important, and to use that connection, that relationship, and make everybody feel special that day. That was the most favorite part. I just felt the love there, and how connected everybody was, and it really brought everybody together. And I think that's why I was put to really plan big events, and I have more events coming up, and I hope you all tune in to those as well. So I hope I gave you some helpful tips if you are planning your wedding. And if you are interested, and if I am available, please reach out. I do still sing at weddings, and if I'm not there, I still can coordinate with you. It's one of my most favorite things to do. So once again, if you're just tuning in, Caryn Lutz, you can find me at CarynLutz.com, CarynLutz. Thank you all so much. I'm going to end in prayer. As you could see this beautiful sunrise in front of me, and I'll end in prayer. Dear God, thank you so much for letting us see this beautiful sunrise, this beautiful beach in front of us, and for giving us this beautiful time together. Please bless anyone who is tuned in and watching the replay, and just keep us going. There are so many of us that are struggling right now, so I ask you to bless them, to open their hearts, to take the pain away. And if you are one of those planning a wedding and stressed out, breathe. It is stressful, but it is so fun. And just remember, most of all, remember why you're planning this. Remember about your love. Remember what God brought to you and your life, and why that's happening. So if you show gratitude and give God thanks every day, like I've been modeling for you all, you will be fine. Things will work out. So God bless. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in.